Thank you so much for joining us online here at Fam Church for our message series, Best Question Ever. Now, if you would like to know more about us here at Fam Church, you can go out to myfamchurch.com, look over everything, get to know us, and if you have any prayer requests, please go to the contact section of our website. Send us your prayer request and we will pray for you. Now, our lead pastor, Brian Lane.
My name is Brian. I am the lead pastor here. We are excited that all of you are with us today. Here at Fam Church, our mission, our focus, our vision is to help lead people of all backgrounds to become fully devoted followers of Jesus. We are here to reach Mulberry and the surrounding area with the message of hope that comes in Jesus. And we're glad that all of you are here this morning. If you're here for the first time, we're really excited that you're here. Please go get your free gift from our Fam Connection Center after service with your blue card. Just go out there and get that free gift. And if you're in church for the first time or the first time in a long time, we are really excited that you are here. Now, if you heard that the Justin Bieber tour stop was going to be here this morning, and so that's why you're here, I hate to let you down. We tried to arrange Justin Bieber this morning, but we just couldn't work out the details. And so I apologize for that. I know it's on his website that he was going to be at Fam Church, but just bear with us as we get through this message. But we believe that this message this morning is going to speak to everyone in this room, whether you're a follower of Jesus or not, if we just apply it to our lives. And we're in this series that's called The Best Question Ever, and it's based on a book by Andy Stanley called Ask It. And basically, what we saw was this is one of those things that if you don't claim to be a Christian, if you follow the guidelines we've talked about, it's going to help you live the life you've always wanted to live, a life of wisdom. And last week, what we did was we expanded on our original question. In week 1, we saw that the original question that we should be asking when we're in any situation is, what is the wise thing to do? And so what we did last week was we looked at this a little bit deeper. We went a little bit further into this question of what is the wise thing to do. And what we saw is that there was 3 basic things that we need to ask in this situation. And the first thing is, what is the wise thing to do based upon our past? Okay? Because our past sets us up for temptations today. There's things in our past that have happened to us that we have done that put us in a place and set us up for temptations even now today. Like if you in your past had struggled with alcohol and God has come and set you free from that. And then one of your friends comes to you and says, hey, let's go play pool at the bar. Let's hang out at the bar tonight. The question you should be asking yourself is, what is wise based on my past? And based on my past, alcohol led me into a dark place that I don't want to go. And because of that, the wise thing for me to do in this situation is to not go to the bar. Okay? And so that's the first of 3 questions that we ask based on what is wise. The second one, what is the wise thing to do based on the things that are presently tempting me now? We all have temptations that we face right now. Things are coming at us. Things are trying to pull us down. And we've got to look at our lives, be honest with ourselves, and ask ourselves the question, what are the things that are tempting me right now, and what things should I avoid? I gave you the illustration of somebody I knew who actually got rid of their smartphone because their struggle was with their smartphone and having instant internet access. They were struggling with pornography on their smartphone. And so what they did was, instead of saying, I'm just going to hold on to my phone because I'm too cool to have a flip phone that I can just text and get phone calls on, they got rid of their smartphone because based on their current circumstances, based on their current situation of falling into this temptation, it was better for them to get rid of the smartphone and use a flip phone than to continue with their smartphone. And then the final thing that we saw was, what is wise based upon my future? See, we all have a future that we have painted. We all have a future that we can see in our lives. And if we're Christians and we're followers of Jesus, we have this picture of what we want our kids and our grandkids to look like. And what we have to do is we have to look at that future that we have painted in our minds, that future that we have set before us, and say, okay, now what is the wise thing to do based on me reaching that goal, based on me reaching that future that I want to picture? And so if you're a follower of Jesus, you want to live your life in your home as an example of what it means to follow Christ, so that your kids end up following Christ and so that your grandkids end up following Christ. Because we don't want to be one of those people who gets to the end of our lives, 80 years old, has to get before our family and apologize for all of the junk, for all the garbage, for all the crap that we brought in to our lives because we failed to do the wise thing and hurt the family. And that was last week. And if you want to see the whole message, you can head out to myfamchurch.com. click on the media tab and go to the Best Question Ever graphic, and both the previous messages are there from that. And so today we are going to head back into the book of Proverbs for this final message. And so if you know where Proverbs is at, you are welcome to turn there in your Bible. It's in the Old Testament right after the book of Psalms. If you're not sure or not familiar with the Old Testament, we're going to put all of the verses up on the screen behind me so that you can follow along. And if you're here this morning and you say, I don't even have a Bible, we got you covered. If you head out to Fam Connections after service and just tell them you need a Bible, they'll put a brand new Bible in your hands as you head home. And so Proverbs, we talked about this in the first week of the series, and the word in the Hebrew, which is the original language of the book of Proverbs, this word Proverbs means skill in living. And so that means that the purpose of this book was to give the people who read it skill in living. But it was beyond just a skill in living. The first few sentences of that book open up and talk about the fear of God. And so what what Solomon was saying when he wrote this was he was saying, you know what, this is going to give you skill in living, but it all starts with the fear of God. And this fear wasn't a fear where we thought he was going to strike us down, we thought he was going to smack us, but it's a fear where we say to ourselves, God, we know that you're awesome, we know that you are above us, we know that you are beyond us, and so because of that, I'm going to live my life the way that you have called me to live it. My heart's desire is to do what you want me to do. And that's the way wisdom works best. When we're saying to ourselves, God, I got to start with you as the foundation to the question, what is the wise thing to do? And so what I want to start with this morning and looking at this final message in the series is I want to talk about the benefits of being a person who lives their lives walking in wisdom. And I think, we all understand what benefits are, right? It's something that, it's an advantage, it's a profit that we gain from something. Some of us work jobs where we have benefits, we get health insurance, or we get retirement, or maybe some stock options, or life insurance, short-term disability, whatever. There's all these benefits that some employers give, and some give more than others, but there's benefits that employers give. And now some of you, when you heard the word benefits, the first thing that popped into your head was friends with benefits. We're not going to talk about that one this morning. Others of you may have thought of Bernie Sanders and all the benefits he's going to give you for free if he's elected president. Can I tell you, benefits are never free. They always cost something, okay? And for us, if we want wisdom, the benefits are going to cost us as well. It may cost us friends because our friends don't understand why we're pursuing wisdom. It may cost us other things to pursue wisdom, but there is going to be a cost to following wisdom. And so I just want you to know that up front, but there are benefits. There are great benefits to it. And we're told several of these benefits for choosing wisdom in Proverbs chapter 3. And so if you're already in the book of Proverbs, if you could go to chapter 3, and we're going to look at verses 13 through 18. And these are some of the benefits of following wisdom. And it says this, "Blessed are those who find wisdom, those who gain understanding. For she is more profitable than silver and yields better returns than gold. She is more precious than rubies. Nothing you desire can compare with her. Long life is in her right hand. In her left hand are riches and honor. Her ways are pleasant. All her paths are peace. She is a tree of life to those who take hold of her. Those who hold her fast will be blessed." All right, so there's several things in here that this verse tells us are benefits of wisdom. The first thing that this verse tells us is a benefit of wisdom is financial blessing. Okay, I think everybody in this room, if I were to say who wants some financial blessing in their life, I think everyone would raise their hand and say, yes, give me some finances. I'm ready to have some financial blessing. Well, if we want financial blessing, we need to operate in financial wisdom. And if you aren't sure what that looks like, go to myfamchurch.com again, click on the media tab, go to #TheStruggleIsReal. There's a message in there titled Finances, and you can see everything that there is about doing wise finances, doing finances God's way. And other benefits for wisdom is, well, a long life. We'll get a long life, and we all want to live a long life, and so if we make wisdom a priority in our life, we're going to have longer lives. Another thing these verses tell us, a benefit of wisdom, is that we'll have more peace in our life. It says that we will be honored But there's even more. If we were to go to Proverbs 22:11, it says, one who loves a pure heart and speaks with grace will have the king for a friend. See, being a person of wisdom attracts other leaders to you. Being a person of wisdom gives you time and opportunity to meet with important people. It gives you influence with people who have stature and who have a place. It makes you more attractive. How many of you are single and are saying to yourself, I wish I were more attractive? Don't raise your hand, okay? We don't want to embarrass you. You having a hard time getting a date? Be wise. Maybe that'll help you out. I don't know. I'm just giving some advice here. You guys don't seem to be enjoying this. All right. Are there more benefits? Yeah, we could spend our whole service talking about the benefits there are to wisdom. The book of Proverbs is filled with them. And man, when you read the benefits of wisdom, it sounds awesome. It sounds amazing. It sounds like, why would anyone want to pass that up? But in life, guess what? Some people are going to bypass wisdom. It looks like this. Let's say I were to have two waiters come into the room with two trays. They were going to come to each of you. And there was going to be two plates, one this plate, and they were going to come present it to you. On this plate was some fresh fried liver, nothing on it. Okay, just some liver. And on this plate, there was just piles of ice cream. Okay? And these are presented to you. Who chooses the liver? I doubt it. Because if you just raise your hand, I'm totally judging you right now because nobody chooses liver. But this is the thing. See, those who reject, and it's okay. I mean, if you really want liver rather than ice cream, I don't get it, but knock yourself out, knock yourself out. But see, those who reject wisdom are like, now I'm not saying are, but are like the people who chose the liver over the ice cream. Okay, because you're missing out on all the yummy benefits of the ice cream and the sugary goodness going down your throat. But you know what? People are going to reject wisdom just like some people are going to reject ice cream for liver. And here's the deal. When we reject something, we are automatically accepting something else, whether we intend to or not. Like if your wife comes to you and says, I want to go to the mall, and you say no, and she heads off to the mall, you are rejecting going to the mall, yes, but you are accepting whatever else you are doing. And so let's say you're stuck staring at the wall in your garage. If you reject going to the mall with your wife, you're accepting staring at the wall in the garage. If your gas light is on your gas tank and you're almost on E and you go by the gas station, you are rejecting getting gas, but you are accepting running out of gas at some other point. I mean, the other day I did this. I put 9.91 gallons of gas in my 10-gallon gas tank last week. I felt pretty good about that when you can get it that close without running out. Okay, but that's what we do when we say no to wisdom. We are automatically accepting something else. Proverbs tells us that by saying no to wisdom, we are saying yes to either being three things. We are either saying yes to being naive, we're saying yes to being a fool, or we're saying yes to being a mocker. And so we're going to look at these three things. All right, the first one that we could be saying yes to in rejecting wisdom is being naive. This is what it says in Proverbs 14:15. It says, the naive believe anything, but the wise give thought to their steps. Now, I know that when we hear this word naive, a lot of times we think negative thoughts. We think it's some sort of insult on somebody, but it's really not an insult. All naive means is that you don't know something, you don't understand something, and we can get this, right? Because, some people just grow up in homes where they don't know certain things. Maybe they weren't introduced to wisdom. Their parents didn't operate in wisdom, and so that's all they know is being a fool, and so they're just kind of naive about things. It just kind of happens, and all of us at some point and places in our life have been naive about life. It's not like it's something that you can avoid doing. It's just because you just don't know. I remember when I was naive, when I was in high school, and you don't see this as much anymore because smoking isn't a thing like it was when I was in high school, but back when I was in high school, there was a group of cool kids that would always go and smoke, okay? And so one day my friends and I, we decided that we were going to smoke. And so we thought we'd try this out. We were 14, we were freshmen in high school, and there was this gas station next to the high school that sold cigarettes, okay? And so me, the 14-year-old, I walked in there. I was able to buy myself a pack of Marlboro cigarettes. Do you know why I bought Marlboro? Because of the Marlboro Man. See, in the 80s, Marlboro advertised their cigarettes with this manly man. He was a cowboy. He had a cowboy hat on. He was riding a horse. He was out in the mountains. He was roping cattle. He was fishing in streams. And he was good looking. And it was like he was the epitome of what it meant to be a manly man. And so my friends and I said to ourselves, we're going to be cool and manly at the same time by buying Marlboro cigarettes. So we went in, we bought Marlboro cigarettes, and there was this green belt behind our high school. And so we went into this green belt. And so it's like the Marlboro Man. We were out in the woods, right? And it was so, now that I think about it, it was so stupid. But we'd be posing like the Marlboro Man, and it was just like out in the woods. It was crazy. I mean, we were so stupid. But the thing is that we looked at ourselves and we said, how can we be cool? How can we be manly? We were naive. We didn't know that cigarette smoking was stupid. I mean, now that I'm standing here in life and I look back and I just see all of the disastrous health consequences of smoking, and I think about my grandmother who died of emphysema, and it was just a slow, miserable death, and I just say to myself, man, what were we thinking? We were just so naive. And I don't think any adult in this room has ever stood there and hanging out with your friends and you're watching somebody smoke a cigarette and you're going, man, remember when we were that cool? No, nobody does that. It's just from being naive that we ended up in that situation. But you don't stay naive forever. At one point or another, you move past naivety and you do one of two things. You either gain wisdom or you move on to the second step here in failing to choose wisdom. And that's the way of the fool. Proverbs 18:2 tells us about a fool, and this is what it says in 18:2. It says, fools find no pleasure in understanding, but delight in airing their own opinions. See, the fool could really care less about wisdom. They have an opinion. They know how life is supposed to be lived. And if it's in conjunction with, if it works with, if it flows with wisdom, that's okay, that's cool, they'll go with it. But if it doesn't, they don't care. The fool is going to do what he or she wants, and they don't have time for anyone else's opinion about their life. Proverbs 26:5 says this, answer a fool according to his folly, or he will be wise in his own eyes. What this verse is saying is a fool, if they ask you a question, the best way to answer them is by telling them what they want to hear. Why should we tell them what they want to hear? Because if we don't tell them what they want to hear, they think they're really wise, they think they're really smart. And so if we don't tell them what they want to hear, they're going to look at us and say, that guy's dumb. That guy doesn't know what he's talking about. He's giving me different advice than I know in my head. And so he'll dismiss your answer. And see, there's a great illustration in chapter 26 that illustrates the thinking of a fool. A few verses later in Proverbs 26, verse 11, it says this, as a dog returns to its vomit, so a fool repeats their folly. Have you ever seen this happen? Carol, if you love my worm story, you're going to love this one. All right. So you guys, how many of us have dogs at home? Who's got dogs at home? We got a dog at home. We had dogs growing up. And think about a dog, okay? When a dog gets sick, when it throws up in your house, usually clean it up right away, right? I mean, one, because it's gross to leave vomit laying around your house. But second, we clean it up. Why? Because if we leave it there, what's the dog going to do? He's going to come back and eat it. Okay, the dog's going to go off. He's going to get sick, going to go off and play for a while, do whatever, and realize he's hungry because he's just put everything that was in his stomach on the floor and be sniffing for food, right? And he's going to come across this pile of vomit and go, oh, that smells something like I've eaten before. And he'll lick it and he'll start to, Eat it back up. You've got to get the vomit off the floor. We had a dog when I was a kid that would go into its crate and it would throw up in its crate and we wouldn't know that it did it. And suddenly we'd see the dog snacking in its crate and we're like, oh man, it's eating its vomit again. Okay, that's the way dogs are. And this is also a picture of a fool. See, a fool will continue to make the same mistakes over and over and over again and not learn from it. Why? Because he's smarter than you. They know the wise thing to do, but they would rather do it their way because it will work out different for them. I mean, when I was in my 20s, this is a story of my finances. Those of you who are getting ready to go to college, what happens when you go to college is not only do they give you student loans, but they have credit card companies that are there, okay? And the credit card companies want to sign the 18-year-olds up for credit cards. And so me, being naive, went to college at the University of Minnesota, and one of my first days, they're signing us up for credit cards. I'm like, oh, that'd be cool to have. I'll take a credit card. So I signed up for a credit card, and I'm thinking to myself, free money, right? Well, so I start using my credit card. Pretty soon, the credit card is maxed out. Because, when you got a credit card and you're 18 years old, what do you need? You need a big TV. You need the newest video game system. You need all the cool stuff, the stereo. Back in the day, you used to actually have to buy a whole stereo system. I know you guys that are younger have no concept what a stereo system is, but you had to have that when I was young, okay? And so the credit card got maxed out. And so what was my solution? Oh, they'll give me another one. Let me take that one too. So the next thing you know, I had 2 credit cards maxed out. And then somebody else came along and said, we'll give you this huge credit limit if you transfer your balances over. Okay, I got that. So I do that. Get the credit card, transfer my balances over. Well, then I've got 2 credit cards that got nothing on them, baby. So I start charging up. Pretty soon, I've got these credit cards. I'm in college, trying to go to school full time, working like 15 hours a week, trying to pay all of these credit cards that I've got. But the deal was that I thought I knew what I was doing. Nobody could come to me and say, dude, you're doing this wrong. This isn't the way you do finances. I knew. I was smarter. I had this under control. And that was a fool. And that's the second path we can take if we don't choose the path of wisdom. And the third path that we can take if we do not choose wisdom is we can become the mocker. Proverbs 21:24 tells us about the mocker, and it says this: the proud and arrogant person, mocker is his name. He behaves with insolent fury. So like a fool, the mocker knows what the path of wisdom is and chooses to do their own thing, but they take it a step further. See, mockers are critical of anyone who tries to do it right. They have no time for anyone or anything else and will be critical of those who choose wisdom. If you go to a mocker and tell them about taking the path of wisdom, they will roll their eyes and they will make fun of you for doing it, trying to do it right. Proverbs 9:7 says this: whoever corrects a mocker invites insult. Whoever rebukes the wicked incurs abuse. The mocker will separate as far from wisdom as they can because they despise it. I mean, this is the person that you work with at your job who knows how to do their job. And ain't nobody can tell them how to do their job. And if you go to them and tell them how they can do their job better, they'll curse you out, they'll cut you down, and they'll take you out. Have you ever worked with people like that? I saw this job posting recently. I don't even know where I saw it. It was for a construction worker. And the guy said, if you know everything, please do not apply. Okay? Because it sounds like he's dealt with the mocker on more than one occasion. Okay? Proverbs 15:9 says this: mockers resent correction, so they avoid the wise. They resent anyone that tells them different. And I feel fairly confident that no mocker walked into this building this morning. Why? Because mockers won't come into a place like this and hear somebody stand up there and talk to them because they are smarter than me. They know more than me. I'm just a dumb guy with a microphone. Who gave him a microphone in the first place? They should have given it to me because I'm smarter than everybody in this room. He's an idiot that doesn't get it, and they are so far separated from wisdom that it takes a miracle to get them to grasp what wisdom is. So what do we do? What do we do to avoid the pitfall of the naive or turn our ship around if we are the fool? Like I said, the mocker probably isn't here this morning, but if you are a mocker and you are here, these things can be applied to you as well, although you probably don't want to hear it. And the answer is found in Proverbs chapter 2, and we're going to read verses 1 through 5. And this is what it says in Proverbs 2, verses 1 through 5. It says, "My son, if you accept my words and store up my commands within you, turning your ear to wisdom and applying your heart to understanding, indeed, if you call out for insight and cry aloud for understanding, and if you look for it as silver and search for it as hidden treasure, then you will understand the fear of the Lord and find the knowledge of God." So the first thing that verse tells us to do is to turn our ear towards wisdom. That means we need to listen for it. Have you ever listened for something? Listened intently for something? Like you've been out in the woods camping and you thought Bigfoot was in the woods, so you listened intently for Bigfoot. I mean, have you ever watched the show Finding Bigfoot? These guys hear Bigfoot all the time. It's just amazing how much they hear Bigfoot. Okay, one episode, they had these recordings of these sounds, and they said, "Do you hear Bigfoot?" Well, other people said, "It sounds like a coyote." You know what their response to that was? "Listen, Bigfoots pretend to sound like coyotes so that you think they're coyotes and not Bigfoot." What? How do you know this? We don't even have proof that they exist, and yet you know that they pretend to be coyotes? But that's how it works. We hear what we want to hear if we're listening for it. And if we're listening for God to speak wisdom to us, we are going to hear God speak to us because He is communicating with us, because He wants us to know wisdom. He doesn't try and keep it from us. He wants us to know it, and so we need to listen for it. And then the second thing that we need to do in that verses 1 through 5 says, we need to cry out for it. Cry out. It's more than just a hey, can you help me out? It's a crying out. It's a shouting. It's a wailing. This is what happened to me the other night. Friday night, we decided we were going to have Subway for dinner because the kids had friends over and we didn't know what to do, and so we went to Subway. Well, as we're pulling into the parking lot of Subway, one of my daughters says to me, last time I was here, they were out of banana peppers. And my thought was, glad I wasn't with you that time, because I don't know if I would eat in Subway without banana peppers. So we get in line, and I hear the lady behind the counter tell the guy in front of us, "Sorry, we don't have any banana peppers." I'm like, no, I did not hear that. So one of my other kids goes, "Dad, look," and there's a sign on the counter, and it says, "Due to a shortage of banana peppers." Who's eating all the banana peppers is my question, okay? But there's a shortage. And so I'm sitting there, and I'm like, I've got to eat a sub without banana peppers. God, why are you so cruel? I cried out in agony because I didn't get banana peppers on my sub. I just wanted to beg and plead for them to go find some in the grease traps. I don't care where you get them. Give me some banana peppers. Well, that's what God wants us to do for wisdom. He wants us to cry out for it, to beg Him for it, ask Him for wisdom over and over and over again. But see, the awesome thing about God is if we ask for wisdom, if we cry out and really want it, He's going to give it to us. James in the New Testament, chapter 1, verse 5 says, "If any of you lack wisdom, you should ask God, who gives generously to all without finding fault, and it will be given to you." If we cry out to God for wisdom, He promises that He will give it to us, and not just give it to us, but give it to us generously. Then the third thing that we should do is search for it. All right, now there's two levels of searching that we have. Okay, there's a level of searching that your child does when you send them to find something for you, such as, "Hey, my cell phone is on the counter in the kitchen. Can you go get it for me?" Look in one spot on the counter. I can't find it. Okay? Everybody who's had kids has been through that because seriously, it's sitting in the middle of the counter. Okay? But then there's the searching that you do when you've lost your debit card. Okay? You flip over furniture. You take off cushions. You take your bed and you look between the mattresses. You go out to your car and you clean the bags of McDonald's that have been sitting in there for months, slowly rotting on the floor. You pull those out to see if it's underneath there. You maybe even go out and pull up your septic lid to see if you possibly flushed it down the toilet, because that's real money going on out there with your debit card, okay? And God is saying, you know what? To find wisdom, to search for wisdom, do it like you lost your debit card. Don't stop. Pursue it. Look hard. Search intently. And when we do that, we're going to find the wisdom that we're looking for. And so, Joe, if you could come on back up. How do we wrap this series up? Is there something that we can say to summarize this whole thing that's applicable to our lives? And the first thing is this: we got to decide that we want wisdom. I mean, do we want wisdom in our lives in the first place? If we don't want wisdom, don't waste your time searching after it, because you're never going to find it. We need to tell our brains, we need to say to our brains, brain, wisdom is the most important thing that we can chase after, and so chase after it with everything that you are. Then the next thing is we need to do exactly as we just discussed here. We need to listen for wisdom in all situations before we move and act. We need to cry out for wisdom. We just need to call on God and say, God, give me wisdom. And then we need to search for wisdom with everything that is within us. In every situation, in every circumstance we find ourselves in, not only do we need to do those things, but we need to go back to this question that we started with in week 1, and we need to say to ourselves, what is the wise thing to do? What is the wise thing to do? God, I'm searching. God, I'm calling out. God, I'm listening for it. What is the wise thing to do? But God, not just what is the wise thing to do, what is the wise thing to do based upon my past and the things that I've been through? What is the wise thing to do based upon the temptations that are currently facing me? And God, what is the wise thing to do based on the future that I'm trying to paint in my life? And see, when we do that, when we add all of those components together to search for wisdom, we are going to get a hold of those benefits that we talked about that come with being wise. We're going to have the financial blessing that we're looking for. We're going to have the long life that we're looking for. We're going to have the honor that we're looking for. We're going to have the influence that we want and desire as long as we chase after wisdom with everything that we are. And so the response to this message, the response to this series is this. We decided in the month of May, there's 31 days, we are going to challenge the church to read one chapter of Proverbs a day for 31 days. Now, if you want to start today so that you can get a head start, so it doesn't matter if you miss a couple of days, you don't get too far behind, that's fine. Go ahead and do that. But we want to challenge everyone to read the book of Proverbs in the month of May. Day 1, Proverbs 1. Day 2, Proverbs 2, so on. But then we also want to challenge you in the same time that you're reading the book of Proverbs to do exactly what we said here. Okay? To listen for wisdom. To cry out for wisdom. To search for wisdom. And then ask the question, what is wise, based on my past, my present, and my future. And see what God will do differently in your life. Because things will change if you actually take this and apply it and use it in your life. Wisdom is a big deal. Getting a hold of wisdom is a big thing. And I want our church to experience the blessings that come with being a wise person. I want all of you guys to have all of these benefits that come with being a wise person. And so that's the challenge that I want to set before you. And I also want to ask you then this, if you're doing this, if you're reading it, if you're asking, and God does something, email me, because I want to hear stories of what God is doing. Half the time I feel like God's doing nothing at this church because nobody's got any stories of what God's doing in their lives. My email is pastorbrian@myfamchurch.com. Email me when God does something. Let me know the stories so that I can hear what God is doing in and through our church.